Hello again. Well, it's Mr. RG Stuff here. I just wanted to show off this lovely gramophone horn that I bought very recently. I say lovely, it's clearly got a bit of age to it and a bit of damage. There's a string here that it's been hanging up on, I'm sure, sort of loops through this sort of whole business here. And that's a sort of cotton covered metal string that's clearly been on for a good few years. And it's rusty. There's some holes rusted in the bottom, sort of down here. In fact, all the way around the rim, really. It's suffering a bit. You can see there. So these are all going to need patching. Now, in terms of what it's made out of, it's steel, as far as I can gather. I mean, the rust gives it away. If I try a magnet, you can see there that the magnet sticks. So it's definitely sort of steel as opposed to brass, which are a lot of the sort of reproduction horns that come out of places like India are made of. So whilst I'm not sure it is actually a genuine sort of like 100-year-old gramophone horn, it's definitely got some age to it. Colour scheme, I mean, it's rust coloured because it's rusty, but actually I think it was a sort of yellowy or brown colour. It might have actually been yellow, and it seems to have some traces of red around here. So I think when I come round to repainting it, I'm going to go with a sort of brown or a yellow or red, something like that. But it needs a fair bit of work. I've got to figure out how to patch all these holes, how to strengthen the rim. But it's never going to be perfect. I don't think it's really worth doing a museum quality restoration on it. But getting it sort of working again would be a good idea. Now, it also came with this elbow bit here that actually has a sort of, I don't know what you call it, stud in there, which goes in this slot here. And I think probably it was sort of threaded through somehow, because that's been kept with this horn, but it's clearly not been fitted to it for a good number of years. And this is, it does appear to be made out of sheet steel. I think inside at least there's a bit of a seam, but it's still pretty heavy gauge actually. There's some weight to that, so that's going to need cleaning up too. Now, I don't think electrolysis is going to be the right thing for this horn due to its size and the fact it's quite fragile, but I did do some experiments earlier in the year. This is an old pair of wire strippers that I successfully cleaned up. That's it before I treated it. That's it bubbling away in the solution after a while. Now when it's done, it still looks pretty gunky, but most of the surface stuff comes off pretty easily. So a bit of a wipe down and a bit of wire brushing with the Dremel, and it came out really nicely. Now I do intend to use this gramophone horn on some homemade gramophones, but I do have another use for it. If I put this down, you'll see what it is. So this is the bass unit from one of those fake or mock gramophones, which apparently come out of India and maybe a few other places too. And it's basically just a wooden box, and in this case completely new parts. So some of these are actually made using parts from old portable gramophones, but this one, it's got a sort of new platter and new controls. It's not particularly well finished. I mean, this does look like a 1930s gramophone platter, but there's not enough padding here, so the record will actually ride on the edge of the metal rim, and the metal rim is nothing like as nicely finished as it would be on a period one. Now if I wind it up a bit, I mean, it does wind. I'll show you the motor in just a moment. Now I've got it set to the slowest speed possible. It's got slow, 78, and fast. Let's set it to the slowest speed there. And I've got a speed tester here. Now this is not my usual speed tester, but you'll understand why in a moment. So basically that actually reads 101 RPM, and my other speed tester actually maxes out at 99 because it's only got a 2-digit display. And basically, although this does actually have a proper gramophone motor inside, well I say proper, it's a clone motor. It's basically a Thorin style 2-spring motor, if I can get it in the light there. If I run it, you'll see that even though the speed control is pushing the disc out as far as it possibly can, it doesn't retard the motion enough to get it to run at anything less than about 100 RPM. And if I actually move that out so it slows it, so I'm going to a faster speed, the RPM I'm getting out of it is probably even higher. Let's see if we can see what that is. I mean, that's 130 RPM. So whilst I'm maybe not as critical of these things as some people are, if you buy one, and obviously they would normally come with a horn and a tone arm and a sound box. If you buy one thinking that you're getting the real deal, or even that you're getting a competent replica that you can safely play your 78s on, then you are unfortunately in for a bit of a surprise. Having said that, it's a reasonable case. It's covered in this sort of thick plum coloured varnish, which I'm tempted to remove and replace with something a bit nicer. It's got this Gramophone Soundmaster logo on. Now they often have HMV logos, but presumably the makers have decided that copyright does actually matter, or trademarks do actually matter, and they've gone for this much more generic one, which I think looks okay, but probably I'll lose when I refinish the case. Don't know what else to say really. There's the holes for the bracket at the back which I'm missing, so I've got the choice of either buying another bracket for it or making a bracket. And I think inside, if I remember rightly, yeah, there's a couple of wing nuts to sort of hold that on. I suspect what happened was that somebody rapidly discovered it wasn't up to scratch and nicked the horn off it, which would have been a quite nice brass looking one, not very original or correct, but what people tend to think gramophone horns ought to look like, and probably used it for a lampshade or something. Anyway, that's my idea for the sort of combination of the two. Don't hold your breath, this is not a project that's going to happen anytime soon, but I did just want to show a couple of things in my workshop which I've not shown before, which hopefully one day will go together and make a quite respectable old style gramophone. And what I should also say is that whilst this has got all modern parts, and I wouldn't necessarily actually want to use this platter and this motor, I mean I may be able to get it working better, I would certainly have to sort this platter out a bit better as well. I do actually have one or two old gramophones. I'm thinking particularly of an old Decca which has got the wrong motor in it, so is basically worthless, and I could transplant the motor and the platter from that onto here and then either use its tone arm or make a tone arm and then make or buy a sound box and actually put together something which is a bit better than the sort of unit this would have been when it was new, which wasn't very long ago, I'm inclined to believe. Okay, well that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Mr. RG Stuff. Thank you.